Welcome, everybody. My name is John Worth. I chair the Environmental Advisory Council for North Coventry Township. Welcome to our webinar. And welcome to this program. This is actually our second webinar in this, which happens to be our second educational series. We had begun this back in June of last year with a series of 4 webinars, and we have another series of 5 webinars. This is the second one, The Wonderful World of Bats. I would also encourage you all to tune in 1 month from tonight on March 10th, when Justin Schiffler will be presenting a program, a webinar like this, on pollinators and honeybees. And so with that, I'm going to turn off my camera in a moment here, and I will introduce Lydia Masimore. Lydia is a Girl Scout who has been very involved and put together a lovely program about the wonderful world of bats. So with that, Lydia, please take it away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lydia Masimore. I'm from Girl Scout Troop 7213, and I'm here to present my Silver Award project, which was on bats. This is my presentation, The Wonderful World of Bats. To start off, I'm going to talk about the Silver Award. So what is the Silver Award? The Girl Scout Silver Award is the highest award a cadet Girl Scout can achieve. You must be in grades 6 through 8. You have to complete a journey, which involves a lot of badge work, leadership skills, and a service project to qualify. You must submit a proposal including a timeline and budget, and then attain approval from your council. The project must be sustainable and benefit a nonprofit organization. It has to be at least 50 hours, and your team, which are the people who help you complete your project, you have to have at least 2 other people in your group who are not related to you. And a little bit on my Silver Award, I built 10 bat boxes for French Creek State Park. I designed this educational slideshow for the Ranger Camper Informational Series. So French Creek got to keep my presentation, and they use it when they need during the summers. I was 14 years old and between 7th and 8th grade. Some pictures I have here on the top left. The lady next to me is Sarah. She helped me with my project. She was head of the informational and educational board. So when campers would come, they have an amphitheater down there. She would go and present different projects on different kinds of animals and things like that. In the top right, that's a picture of me cleaning out the bat boxes. They had 2 or 3 already there. A lot of them were very old, and a lot of them haven't been used in a while. So I had to go clean the wasps' nests and things out of them. That bottom picture is Sarah and I. That's the first night I presented my project. Some other pictures I have here. The top left, that's me, my teammate Miley, and my dad cutting and measuring out boards for the backboards of the bat boxes. The picture below it, that is Sarah, me, Miley, and Annie. That was the last night of my presentation in the building. In the top right, that's my dad and I at Home Depot finding the right kind of wood. Between the left and the right pictures, that's just the side pieces for the bat boxes. And in the bottom right is me, Miley, and Annie working. On the left, in the top, that's me presenting at Grace Lutheran Church. I presented to just the general public who wanted to come. And then below it, Sarah and her another ranger came, and they talked about the programming they have at French Creek. On the right is a picture I saw on Facebook. It said, "To the scouts that installed the bat houses at French Creek State Park, the bats are living life large." So That's a picture of the bat boxes they installed on the cabins, and someone walked through, noticed them, and took a picture. So it was very cool. How I met you. So a little bit on my gold award. The gold award is the highest award a senior and ambassador can get. The award, sorry about that. The award requires 80 hours of work, one journey, a non-Girl Scout advisor, and it must benefit a nonprofit organization. So far, I have volunteered at Kenilworth Park helping to plant the native pollinator garden, and I'm going to work with Jesse Schiffler and Patty Worth to create a native garden at Grace Lutheran Church, as well as create educational posters. And then these pictures on the side here are just a couple that we took after and during we were planting. Now on to the bat presentation. So the scientific name for bats is Chiroptera, which derives from the Greek prefix chir, which means hand, and pteron, which means wing, which adds up to make hand wing. Bats are divided into two main groups, megabats. They are large bats that feed pretty much on fruits. And then microbats, which eat insects, frogs, blood, fish, lizards, and birds. And on the right here is a picture of a little brown bat. Some facts here. Bats can eat up to 1,200 mosquitoes an hour. They use echolocation to hunt. Some bats migrate while others hibernate. Certain bats eat fruit and are great pollinators. More than half the species are endangered or in severe decline throughout Pennsylvania and generally worldwide. Tropical bats are key elements in rainforest ecosystems, which rely on them to pollinate flowers and disperse seeds for countless trees and shrubs. And up in the top right here is a picture of echolocation. Some more bat facts here. Bats are exceptionally vulnerable to extinction, in part because they are the slowest reproducing mammals on Earth for their size, mostly producing only one young annually. So they usually only have a baby a year. There are only 3 species of vampire bat. I think that's pretty cool. None of them live in Pennsylvania. Way too cold. When night falls, mother bats will usually leave the colony to search for food, and when they return, they have the ability to find their baby by the sound of the baby's call. So every baby has a specific call that the mother knows. When the mothers leave, the pups will huddle together in order to stay warm, as bats need to stay between 90 and 100 degrees. Bats can live more than 30 years and can fly at speeds up to 60 miles per hour. That's not including a free fall. There are over 1,400 species of bats worldwide. So what to do if you find a fallen bat? So if you find a bat in your backyard or on the ground, you should not pick it up with your hands. Bats are a carrier of rabies, so caution is needed. You should avoid touching the bat with gloved hands or even tools, as you might accidentally injure it. A bat that's grounded may be injured. Make sure the bat is safe from things that may harm it, like pets and children, by standing near it and keeping pets and children in the house. So what if a bat is inside the house? So your goal would be to get the bat to leave on its own. You should not attempt to touch or pick up the bat, again, because they can carry diseases. You should close off the room or area where the bat is, leaving open any doors or windows that lead directly outside. If there are no doors or windows that lead directly outside, try to close off the rest of the house or area so that there's only one path for the bat to take. If a bat won't leave or if it's injured, you should contact a professional wildlife rehabilitator. And this website down here, it'll take you to a website where you can click on which state you're in, which county you're in, and then it'll tell you the closest wildlife rehabilitator you can call. So why bats should not be touched. Bats are naturally docile. They're still wild animals. Bats that are grounded could be hurt, confused, or scared. and it probably does not realize you're trying to help, and it may try to nip or scratch at you. And then although rabies is carried in less than 0.5% of all bats, any mammal could potentially carry the rabies virus. So PA Bat Rescue is an animal rescue specifically for bats. During my silver award at French Creek Park, they came and did a bat count of the current bat colonies in the park. So we looked at all the different bat boxes that were in French Creek, and then when night fell, we counted how many bats dropped out of the boxes. Cool thing, we found a new colony of bats that was previously undocumented, being at French Creek. Just a cool fact. The PA Bat Rescue strives to educate, rehabilitate, and protect bats. They have a Facebook, a website, and an Instagram you can follow for more information and updates on current bats they have and their programs. Their president and chief of staff is Steph Stronsick. She runs the social media along with the rehabilitation and programming. I met her during my silver award. She's a very cool lady. All right, so there are 9 types of bats living in Pennsylvania, and in order, they're the little brown bat, which is most common, the hoary bat, red bat, Indiana bat, northern long-eared bat, large brown bat, small-footed bat, tricolored bat, and the silver hair bat. We have some pictures. Moving on to white nose syndrome. So white nose syndrome is a fungus. It infects the bat's wings and noses, and it grows on the membrane. It was first found in New York in 2007. Sorry, they're not really sure where white nose first showed up in. They just know generally it was in New York. White nose syndrome affects hibernating bat species, which make up about half of all the bats in North America. It's found in caves, and usually the spores are tracked into caves as people go caving and then don't clean their gear afterward. And then as they travel to these different places, they spread the spores. And here we have some maps just over the years, how much it's spread. So this was 2007, where it was first detected. We have 2008, you can see it spreads out a little more. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then the most recent map was 2020. And this is last year. You can see throughout the years how much it's spread, just because of people traveling or the bats that are infected traveling, and it's everywhere. So what does white nose syndrome do? So the fungus itself doesn't kill the bats. During hibernation, a bat's heart, temperature, and breathing slow to reduce using energy stored before hibernation. The fungus grows in and on the animal, causing pain. It disturbs their hibernation and it wakes the bat up. The bat affected uses up energy stored in the body faster. And when that energy is gone, the bats cannot find food, as insects like mosquitoes and moths are not active until spring. Not able to hibernate due to the pain and no water and no food supply, the bat dies. And as of right now, there is no cure for white nose syndrome, although researchers are working on antibiotics. And these are just a couple of pictures here. The darker pictures are, you can see the little spots. That is the fungus under blacklight. And then the other 2 pictures are just in regular, what you would see with your eyes. So current white nose syndrome news. As of last year, a new study from the University of Michigan, biologists present the first genetic evidence of resistance in some bats to white nose syndrome. Little brown bats were found to have significant differences in at least 3 genes, and certain individuals appeared to have the ability to fight off the disease due to the gene variations. Bats that survived white nose syndrome due to genetic resistance should pass on their genes to their offspring. So these bats had genetic mutations or genes that were passed down, so they were able to fight white nose. Now, this was a more recent slide I add on coronavirus. Bats have carried coronavirus as well as SARS and rabies for decades, so this isn't new. Bat guano is often used to fertilize agricultural fields in Asia. It is important to understand bat viruses due to the possible transmission to food. And the proportion of human infecting viruses in bats is similar to other groups such as birds, rodents, and domestic animals. So bat boxes. Bat boxes house all kinds of bats. The sizes can vary. Species of bats like certain boxes, and they also depend on the temperature and where you live. So on Bat Conservation International, you can find lots of good blueprints depending on where you live. You can find designs on the internet or look at those and create your own like I did. Houses give the bats safe places to sleep. They're warm, they're dry, and they're safe. The one thing you have to be aware of is wasps. They like to go up into the corners of the box and try and build nests. And they will try and take over or try and kill the bats. So my bat boxes, I made 12 boxes for approximately $375. That's about $31.25 per box. I spent 25 hours on all 12 boxes. That's about 2 hours per box. And then I made modifications for northern climate, including sealed sides and a top to retain heat. And now onto my bat box demo here. So I brought one of my bat boxes inside to show you. So this is the front piece, and it fits into the bigger box. I soldered in this shape. I had a template, and then stained it a different color just to know, for people to know it's a Girl Scout project. And then our bigger piece that front panel fits into is here. You can see most of it. So it's pretty big, as you can see. Here, stand up and back. There you go. Fit it all on the screen. All right, so this back paneling is it's just plastic fencing. You could use chicken wire. It's just something for the bats to hold on to, keep a good grip. And then that's screwed in to the backboard. And on the sides here, this is all caulk. And when you put that front piece on, it keeps it really, really warm, since I live in Pennsylvania, and it gets colder in winter. It's also sealed up around the sides to retain heat. And then this front paneling, so that first board you saw would fit right in this area, and the bats down here, this little part that hangs off, would drop and then come back to the house on this little piece here. Alrighty. So that is the end of my presentation. And now I'll take comments and questions. I'll stop sharing here.
All right, thanks, Lydia. That was really interesting. I don't, as of yet, we haven't got any questions that have come in through the chat, but I had a couple of questions that I thought of. So first of all, one of the things you mentioned is that I think across multiple bat species, they are in decline and in some cases even threatened. Do you know why that is? What's causing the decline in the number of bats that we're seeing?
Yes. So white nose syndrome is a big factor
Hmm.
as it spreads. A second one is things like deforestation. Not all bats live in caves. A lot of them live in trees. It just depends on where you are and the temperature. So deforestation, as things get cut
Sure.
down and homes get put in, that just takes more and more away from the bats.
Okay. And then you obviously did a big part of your silver award was building the bat boxes, supplying them to the French Creek State Park.
Mhm.
Um, one thing I was wondering is when you build a bat box and have that installed, I mean, typically in a colony, that might utilize one of those bat boxes, excuse me, do you see, will that be populated with a single species of bat, or might you get more than one species of bat living there together?
So only one species of bat will usually move
Okay.
into a box. Two gets a little crowded. Um, but you can see it'll only be one species of bat per box, but that one colony will move around between different boxes, which is why I made so many for French Creek. So as they come and go, they could use the same box or use a different one.
Okay, interesting. All right. Well, it looks like we do have a couple of other questions that have come in. Um, One question is, where would the best location be to put a bat box?
All right. So location is very important. You need somewhere where water is readily available. Um, you need the bat box to be generally away from high traffic areas, roads. A back road might be okay, but still your best bet is to keep it away from there. And then away from anywhere you're gonna have pets or children, because again they can yeah, and they carry diseases.
Mm,
And the houses need to be at least 10 feet off the ground because bats don't fly out of the boxes. They drop down and then catch wind and then fly.
okay. All right. Um, Now, do the bats, a question that came in from the chat is, will bats hibernate in those bat boxes?
No,
Okay.
yeah. Bat boxes are more like summer homes for the bats.
Mm, okay. Good to know. What do you recommend for keeping the wasps out of the bat boxes? Are there any tricks for that?
Yes. So wasps can only survive. They can't survive or put their nest into high temperature places. So
Mhm.
the bat box, like mine is, that's why it's all sealed up because when the bats go in, it gets really, really hot. Again, they need to stay between 90 and 100 degrees,
Mhm.
which is another thing for bat boxes. When you place them, you want to make sure they get a lot of sun to keep the bats warm. So putting somewhere sunny, making sure it's sealed, um, and then if you do get wasps, your best bet is to kind of like close it off, and then during the winter completely clean out the nests.
All right. So where do bats hibernate? If not in the bat boxes, where do they go? For those that are hibernating species.
Right. So a lot of the time they'll fly to the nearest cave or
Mm.
inlet. Um, they like dead trees, and unfortunately, a lot of the time they find somebody's attic or chimney to hibernate in. Uh,
Right.
yeah.
And then one other question here is, what is the number one fact that you wish people knew about bats?
Oh, that's tough.
We
I
didn't want to give you only easy questions.
right, right. um, I think it would be that bats are not as scary as people seem to think they are. Um, people see a bat in the house and they instantly want to grab a broom or a newspaper and try to smack it out of the air. Um, or they're in an attic or in a chimney and people try and block it off. All that does is kill the animal,
Mhm.
you know? And they can't, well, you should be cautious of them and they can be disease carriers. Um, Usually the bats will not intentionally try and attack you. They just want to get out. Um, you're disturbing where they're sleeping or where they're eating. They just want to leave that area to ensure their own safety.
Mhm. Okay, good. Now another question: are you still building bat boxes? And if not, is there somewhere where a person could go to buy a bat box that would be appropriate for this area?
Yes. So I haven't built any more bat boxes. Um,
Hmm.
they were very time consuming, and it was a lot of fun, but it can be expensive too.
Hmm.
That website I mentioned, Bat Conservation International, if you go to that page, they have a lot of blueprints and things. Yeah, and you can buy them on Amazon. You just have to look for what's appropriate for the kind of climate you get.
Okay. Yeah, and as I recall, because I have built one before, and as I recall, the placement is very important, as well as even the color that it's painted to make sure it gathers enough, basically solar energy to keep it warm for the bats while they are in there during the day.
Right. And another thing, it's a little gross, but if you have a bat problem in, say, your attic or a chimney, and you want to move them outside, rehome them to a new bat box, the best way to do that is to grab some of the bat poop in your attic or chimney and then smear it all over the box. Because then they smell that and they associate it with being safe, that they've already been there.
Okay. You're right, gross, but it does sound like if it works, it works, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
good
yeah.
job. It's a good job for a little brother.
Yeah. Well, and also make sure you're wearing gloves.
That too, yes. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. It looks like you have addressed all of them.
John, I have a question. Sorry, I'm on my phone,
Yeah,
so
go ahead, Justin.
it's hard to type out a full length question. A lot of stores like Tractor Supply and like Pickering Valley Farm and Feed and Agway sell bat boxes, but I vaguely remember hearing something about too big of a bat box house, like with too many chambers. Sometimes they'll have one or two chambers,
Yeah.
some will have three or four, but
Yeah.
too many together also helps spread some type of disease. I don't know if it was the white nose
Yeah.
or some other disease, but in your research, what size bat box, how many, slot crevices for the bats to inhabit is ideal, and how much would be too much?
All right. So ideal is 1 to 2 slots. Because if there are too many, then yeah, it attracts more bats, and it's just easier to spread disease. They're a lot bigger too, and harder to keep clean. So having a bat box with 1 or 2 chambers at most is best.
Okay.
And to tie on that bat box research, whether you use plastic netting or like metal window screen or fiberglass window screen, or you just make, shallow slits in the wood with, a table saw, is there any one of those particular methods that lends itself to problems regarding disease or anything like that compared
Uh,
to the other?
so not pertaining to disease, as the only thing is to make sure if you're using wiring or netting to make sure the holes are smaller, because if you get something like chicken wire that's too big, the bats can get caught in between, and it can rust. So
Okay.
just getting stuff with smaller holes.
Well, Lydia, thank you for that. I think you have now answered all the questions, so I think we'll go ahead and close out the webinar. Again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. We will be back 1 month from this evening, 7 p.m. to hear a program on pollinators and honeybees.
Yep.
So with that, I'll wish you all a good evening, and thanks especially, Lydia, for this presentation and for all of your work to help us preserve these important animals.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Lydia.
Thank you, Lydia. Good job.
Thank you, guys.